the beginning, when I came up with cameras for girls, people were telling me things like, that's crazy. That's a stupid idea. That'll never fly. Where are you going to get the money? You can't do that. You live in Canada. Who cares about Africans? Why would you waste your time? That kind of stuff. I had a vision. I had an idea. There's times still I would be like, oh my God, this is so hard. I'm going to quit. And thank God I have my husband who's my sounding board. I don't make money doing this. Like we're so small. And he'll say to me, no, you are making an impact. You're going to keep on doing this. And one day the door is going to unlock for you. Until then, go through the window.
No, I think this is great. And, as I've been launching into the nonprofit world and talking to a lot of leaders, you still have one of the most unique organizations that I've spoken to, and over 30 people. So I'm going to start off with introducing you to that. Amina Mohamed is the founder and executive director of Cameras for Girls, a Canadian charity that empowers young women across Africa to build journalism and photography careers in a male-dominated industries. Her work blends storytelling, social impact, and gender advocacy through skill building and access to tools that remove barriers to employment.
That's,
Did I get it all?
that is beautiful, actually. Really nicely done.
That was wonderful. It was interesting because I think in the beginning of the relationship or talking, you were like, well, how did, where would I fit into this kind of thing? It seems, how would this help or what are we going to do? But it's ideas like yours that are breaking down walls to get, in your success rate with teaching people how to use the cameras and to write their narratives and learn how to do that, and you're training for that. And the high rate of getting them employed is amazing, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I want you to definitely discuss that for a bit, and then we'll move into some other stuff with the organization.
Sure. Yeah. When I started Cameras for Girls, it wasn't just going to be another photography training program. It was always had to be around putting girls to work, especially in Africa where they don't get opportunities simply because they're women, right? They're born a girl, they grow up to be a woman, they're told they can't do this, they can't have access to education, they shouldn't be working, they should be married, having children, all the old time things that we used to hear in our lives in North America. And now women are breaking the glass ceiling here, but only 23% of women across Africa are in positions of leadership. Imagine that. Now, if you can
Right.
put a camera in a girl's hand and you tell her and you show her, you don't tell her, but you show her how she can be the owner of her own narrative and be in power of her future, you not only build more gender diverse voices, but you give her something that she will always be able to rely on to feed herself, her family, her community, and show other girls and women what is possible. And so it
I think
always
that's
had to
powerful.
start with job creation.
I think it's very powerful because you're giving them the power to create their destiny, so to speak,
Yes,
right?
like give a
And
man
to
a fish or teach him how to fish. Same thing.
so give a
Give a
person a
girl a
camera,
camera or teach her how
girl
to
a
use it.
camera, or teach them how to take a picture, right? And so
Yeah,
you decided to do a lot more than just teach them how to take a picture,
that's it.
right?
Yeah.
And that is because you have a perfect background to do this, don't you?
Well, yeah, I wouldn't say it's perfect, but it's a little unique. So I am a photographer myself, and I am a past filmmaker. So I started my career working in catering, and then I moved into the wardrobe department of the Canadian film and television industry. My last film was American Psycho. And then I jumped into producing my own music videos, short films, documentaries. And then I went into, on the TV side, production management. So I've done it all. And through all those roles, I got immersed into storytelling, even though I didn't think I was, regardless of whether you're ripping apart a script to budget for it or you're reading the script to understand how to dress a character, it was storytelling. But I take it a little further because I am a refugee from Uganda, having grown up in Canada. And when I thought about going back to Uganda to pay it forward, I recognized that it could not be, at the beginning, it wasn't about ethical storytelling, it was just storytelling and photography. But as I got more immersed into the culture and more immersed in how we can change these girls' lives, ethical storytelling became our framework, which means that when I go in as an outsider, even though I'm from Uganda, I'm still an outsider. I have to tell stories with them, not for them.
Yeah.
And this is prevalent in the, nonprofit NGO space. We tell stories about the people that we serve, and I hate that word serve. I hate the word beneficiaries and empower because it's all steeped in colonial language. I use empower and
Empower.
yep, empower. I want it in the dictionary because they have the power within. I'm just helping them unlock it. Whereas empower means I'm gifting you your power. You don't have any. And there's a clear differentiation. So we frame everything around ethical storytelling. We teach them how to do ethical storytelling, telling the stories of their own communities, and it becomes an ever evolving cycle of impact.
So that's an important piece to it also, is you brought up even in the nonprofit industry is storytelling
Yeah.
and bringing those stories to light, bringing those stories to people where they wouldn't normally see it. And that's an interesting thing that, like, social media could be good or bad, really.
Hmm.
And we're in an industry where storytelling sells, that storytelling gets people involved.
Yeah.
Storytelling piques their interest to look a little bit deeper into the situation in Uganda, and you were in Tanzania and South Africa, right? And so when you're able to get someone trained through their workshops and then they get employed, how do you measure the impact that you're making not only in their lives but also in their future?
So it's hard to see what the future holds because women have a hard time climbing the ladder. But when a girl can come back to me 6 months or 12 months after finishing our program and say, Amina, because of you, I was able to do this, this, and this. Or because of you, like my first student from my first workshop in 2018, had a job as a journalist, just to give you an idea, had a job as a journalist for 6 months, was not getting paid, was not getting published, but she didn't tell me during the workshop. I came home 2 weeks after the workshop came finished. She writes to me and she says, because you gave me a camera and because you taught me how to use it, and back then it was just point and shoots, I'm now going to get paid and published 4 times a week. That
Wow.
meant that when the roof flew off their family home a year later because the rains were heavy, she was able to repair it. She was able to buy her mother a TV. She was able to move out and support herself, and she was able to support her younger siblings to go to school. So it becomes a ripple effect. It's not just about the one girl. It's about what she is able to do for her family who may not be able to get those opportunities. Because again, girls are told, oh, you're a girl, you don't need education. And the lucky few whose parents see that education is the road out of poverty will educate their girls. And for those that are even luckier to go to university, that's where their futures can unfold.
That's important. There's a huge distinction too. Another person I think spoke to you about, Ruth Farmer with Last Mile
Mhm.
Education. She's working with underprivileged uh, girls and boys who are incredibly intelligent to get them across the graduation line.
That's it.
And she was the first one to open my eyes to that. It's not so much we've taught 70 girls how to use cameras. Okay, now 70% of them are employed. Okay, now what's next? Now they're, let's say they pay taxes or they buy into the economy. They become part of the economy, right? And the economy
Yes.
grows.
Yep. That's it.
That's, it's not so much an impact. Now there's an outcome that, because of you teaching folks who would never had that opportunity with a camera, and then use your expertise to teach them the ethical storytelling and the economic, can I say empowerment, or you want to just say empowerment?
Empowerment. Empowerment.
Right. So it changes, and you said the ripple effect. And I think that where I've learned in the nonprofit world that everyone I've met wants to be stewards of goodwill and the true meaning of goodwill and pushing that forward and knowing that what you're doing will cause ripples for generations, but also to other communities. But then also those photographs will end up who knows where and
Exactly.
inspire other people, right? It's something that sometimes the nonprofit impact, we can't just like put a number on it or
No.
something, but there's a lot of feeling to it as well, which is a big deal, right? I'm interested in your challenges being in Canada, running a Canadian nonprofit organization for a whole
Working.
nother. Yes,
Just
I want
opened
to
up
hear
a
some of
can of
the.
worms.
Well, that's you're not the only person who's, I have folks who are running stuff in Ghana who live in Idaho, kind of
Yeah.
that kind
Yeah.
of
It's
stuff.
it's tough.
But you're in Canada, and I don't know too much about their laws and the politics, and then the politicking and stuff going on in Africa. What kind of challenges are unique to what you're doing, and what kind of help could you use to get to your goal in 2030? You want to touch 30,000 females, right?
Yep.
I
30,000
did not.
women, 7 African countries. That's my goal. That's my vision,
Yes.
right? 30,000 women storytellers across the continent telling their stories to change,
How are you gonna get
how
there?
people see funding, obviously. So, to backtrack, when it comes to challenges, Canadian charity working in the international space, everybody says, well, go get government funding. We've tried. And what we're told is, it's the chicken and egg scenario. Well, you got to get bigger to get our funding. Well, how do you get bigger if you're not going to get that funding? And there's a lot of gatekeepers in the funding space. And then there's a lot of donors who want to, and rightfully so, support home, initiatives back home rather than internationally, because maybe they don't understand the challenges women face in Africa that are very different here. Even if you are without means in Africa, there's still support systems. Without means in Africa means there's nothing. There's no road forward because there are no support systems. There's no mechanisms in place. There's a difference. What we've done is go and register in Uganda as a nonprofit. So we're almost there, just waiting for our bank account to be set up.
Congratulations.
And once that's done, then I can go and get a US fiscal sponsor. That US fiscal sponsor will then open up the US, Africa, Switzerland, Germany, and the UK to me, which means that I don't have to stay at home to fundraise. I can go international to fundraise.
That's fascinating. I've never heard that in the whole month of talking to
Because I'm
35 other leaders.
I'm looking at how do we as a small one person led charity grow if we're only going to look at home for fundraising, because we're locked out of going to the US, right? Because we don't have a US 501c3. Well, that US fiscal sponsor now gets to stand in place of that and open up the funding for me. So
Have
I'm
you
I'm
located that
very out of the
fiscal
box thinking.
You
So
have to.
yeah, exactly. And then I
I
do
mean,
a lot of
obviously, you think outside the box and the whole unique aspect of cameras for girls on a whole nother continent, that has has embraced you and what you're doing. And how how do you go about finding that fiscal person in the United States that can open up these other countries for you? How does
Yeah,
that
so
work?
we were introduced to somebody who's very interested in becoming our US fiscal sponsor. And for anybody out there listening, they're called TrustBridge. And they charge me 1% setup per year and then 3% fee on anything they bring in or we bring in together. And it's a platform. And, I've talked to many different US fiscal sponsors, and they seem to be the best partner for us so far. But, it's always discussions are the beginning and then you go deeper. But it's something that I'm really keen on doing, because if we don't get to that step, then I will stay one person for the rest of my life and either quit or have to merge with another organization. which I'm not averse to either, because you have to take the ego out of impact. So many executive directors or founders, the founder syndrome, you look at it and you say, oh, I started this. I can't let it be somebody else's or something else. I'm willing to give that up in order to make an impact for these women. It doesn't always have
Keep
to
the
be me.
ego out of impact.
Yeah. You got
Yeah.
to think big to go big. You can't be, partnerships and collaborations are everything. A lot of people are averse to partnerships and collaborations. That is the secret sauce to how fast we've gotten to where we are.
Yes. And I'm learning that as well. And I love that nonprofit industry, the leaders are so open to talk to me, a newbie on the phone, on video, wherever. And what's happening, not only is it shortening my learning curve so I can help Journey House Foundation, but I'm also able to connect people who would have never met,
Exactly.
from people, rock climbing with children with Down syndrome in Texas to a learning disabilities company out in Hawaii, and they, hit it off.
That's
And
incredible.
then a huge food pantry in New Jersey where this guy's, tripled the ability to help more and more hungry people. And then a lady who's in Utah who runs her 3 location food pantries like a boss, like just absolutely amazing. And I just connect them. And then like, that's where that synergy grows, right? And
Yeah,
you
exactly.
find the people who have that passion, like for you to meet Ruth Farmer and put your heads together, and her network of people can meet with like your network of people probably overlaps.
You
And
grow
that's
bigger together, right? You go further together. The African proverb, right? You go further together. And
you do.
yeah,
And it's pretty amazing that the overlaps in the nonprofit world, and everyone's so willing to help the next person, you know,
can I
get
drop
better and be
two?
better.
Can I drop two? Sorry, links to support mechanisms for nonprofit leaders. Do you mind?
Absolutely.
Okay, so the first one is thenonprofithive.com, run by Tasha Van Black. And it is for half an hour chats on a Thursday. You pick your time slot and they match you like one-on-one with a nonprofit professional around the world. And you get to meet and learn from other nonprofit professionals. And the second one is proimpactproject.com. They're US based and it's for chats between executive directors to executive directors, again, global.
That's amazing that they're
Yeah,
just willing to open up their treasure chest of successful tips. And being in Amazon for 8 years, that was not really
that's not the
available.
world.
That's not the world. We figured this out before all the other companies who want to do logistics and supply chain,
Yeah,
and we're not telling anybody how we did it,
exactly.
where yeah. So going on with, you told me one story of the girl who came back and she was able to make money and be published 4 times a week, and the roof came off the house. What impact are you the most proud of right now with Cameras for Girls?
That we don't let, the lack of staff or the lack of finances hold back from finding resources for our girls. So last year was a very tough year for many. Actually, the last couple of years have been really bad, right? But this last year has been really tough. And people think about what the orange man, I won't say his name, is doing in office is only affecting North America. But it's, US aid cuts have affected the global South horrendously. And so that causes a lot of depression, suicide ideation, and it's not in our direct mandate to offer mental health support, but we went out to our community and we said, look, our girls are struggling. Who here will support us to offer mental health support? And the amount of women from my Vital Voices network who came out was incredible. And we were able to get 19 girls off of suicide ideation and get them support.
That's
And
fantastic.
it's not about, oh my God, you can't afford it. It's not in your budget. It's not in your mandate. It's there's a problem, find a solution. Because you cannot sit as the founder or as an executive director or whatever your role is offer a program and forget all the other stuff that's happening behind the scenes. Oh, no, we only do this. We're not going to worry about this. That's your problem. Doesn't work. But if you want them to be successful, you need to be A to Z. And if it's not in your mandate or your budget, you find other people who will come in as partners. Again, back to that collaboration and
You
partnership.
have that you have that passion. Everybody has that passion. It's great. And you, as you stated, like as small as your organization is and the impact, but you have an amazing network. And what I hear is something that somebody else said last week was it's it's not what's possible, it's what's needed.
Yes,
You figure out what's needed,
that's it.
and then it turns out something's possible.
Same
And then the
thing
next
that
step,
led me to doing cameras for girls. What is needed, right? It started
"Hmm,
with, I don't have a camera. I don't know how to use it. I can't get a job. Okay, but that's not enough. How do we get you that job?
there's
We
cameras
got
in
it,
the world.
right? Yeah,
I can
there's
get you a
cameras
camera."
everywhere.
Right.
But, if you're not going to learn how to tell story with it, you're not going to have, and we also do a lot of business skill training. We build them a LinkedIn profile. We teach them how to
Yeah,
use
let's
it,
let's touch on that because
right?
I think that's really cool that you bring them out of that part. You give them the skills with the camera, but that could be like you could have a Ferrari in the garage and
Yeah.
never no one would know you have it kind of thing and drive it. But you teach them so much more, and I'd like to you to talk about that.
Yeah, so we start with the 4-day workshop in the country. So number one, I get to know them, they get to know me, they learn the photography. On the fourth day, we go into the field and we work with a partner NGO. We find a partner NGO who works with women or girls or has similar themes. And we approach them by saying, look, we're going to bring our students for one day and they're going to learn to tell your story in an ethical framework. And those girls, because they're coming out of theoretical university programs, so they've never been to the field. Now they're learning how to tell stories. When I get home, we do a year, every Friday I'm teaching. It's either story, photography, storytelling, and then, we start to get into business skills around um, ninth or 10th months, meaning we give them an assignment where they have to go and build their LinkedIn. So they have to get to the basic. It's a course that we've developed or we've had fun developing. And if they are invested in it, we take it the rest of the way. If they don't do it, it's not going to help them get a job. If you're not visible and you don't know how to be visible by how to post properly, how to, caption properly, not just your photos, but your stories,
Yeah,
your everything, nobody's going to see you. So we teach them all of that. Then we teach them business planning because some of them fall in love with photography and they're like, I want to do this as a business. Great. Well, how do you start a business? You need a business plan. Then we teach them money saving skills because money in, money out. So we teach them the 10%, 20% rule. Now, money in, 20% under your pillow or wherever you're going to keep it. Um,
right.
the rest out, right? So
That's good.
because the job could end tomorrow, then what are you doing? And it doesn't go to your family first. It goes to you first, and then you save. So I've got a student right now. I'm really trying to get her on money saving tips because she's earning US dollars from one of our donors to our monthly donor creators program, where we say employ a girl, but you're going to pay her US dollars through this program. And she's making shillings, which is like so much less, pennies to dollars, but she still can't figure out the savings part. So it's up here. So it's going back with them and teaching them things that they would never learn. Even us, we don't get it in school, which we should, but they don't get any access to any of these things. So when they leave Cameras for Girls, I want them to know they can always come back, but they have a solid
Yes.
ground to go forward on their own, right? So back to that. Don't give the man a fish or a woman a fish or a camera. Teach her how to use it.
It will get to a point where as you go towards your goal of 30,000 girls across the continent, that you'll build this longitudinal community where the people who learned and were mentored under you and when got jobs, they'll return and begin to mentor the younger girl,
We already
and it's
have
just
some
a
of those.
cycle.
We
Right.
already
So
have some
tell me,
students
tell
who
me
come
some of
back to
that, because I think
mentor.
that that's an amazing thing in a nonprofit world where even at Journey House, where we have recovering folks and they get their lives back and they get jobs and they get relationships, everything's good. They return at least once a week to hang out, put their arm around somebody, give them a story, walk them through something. And that's so powerful. Like,
It
and
is.
you said you already see that too.
Absolutely. So we always ask our girls, like we have a mentorship program. It's 6 months after they've graduated from the year-long program. So as long as they've gone, they have 12 assignments. If they have, eight, anywhere between 8 and 12, and we understand life happens. So we're a little bit flexible, but 8 to 12 assignments are done. They get access to mentorship. That's a 6 month program. Once they've been through that, that's one-on-one mentorship. So if they want to be a photographer, I match them with a photographer and so on. So many of them come back and say, Amina, I need mentorship again, but before I get mentorship, I want to pay it forward. So Patience, who actually helped launch our mentorship program, I have to tell you her story. She was during COVID working as a journalist, and she was going in every single day and not getting paid. So she didn't tell me during COVID. So I go back to Uganda after in 2021. And she says, "Can I talk to you?" We had a gathering, and she said, "Can I talk to you for a minute?" I said, "Yeah." She goes, "I need some advice." I said, "Okay. Well, I've been going into work and not getting paid." I said, "How long has this been happening?" "Well, since the beginning of COVID, so it was over a year by then." I said, What are the men getting paid?" And she said, "Well, yes." And I said, "What did that tell you?" And she had nothing to say. So I said,
Oh,
"Tomorrow, you are going to grab your laptop. You are going to finish that LinkedIn profile that we started for you last year that you never finished. And then I'm going to launch my mentorship program on you." So I got her she finished her LinkedIn platform. We put her CV together. I got her a new mentor. 6 months later, she was finished mentorship. 2 months later, she won Travel Writer of the Year in Uganda. Now
wow.
she's a managing director of a newspaper. She's a consultant for other travel companies across East Africa, writing and flying on their dime, and she's making money. And she now mentors some of our students who want to follow in her footsteps, right? So they
Amazing.
know what
I would
they
love that.
get, then they come back and they pay it forward.
Very interesting part of what you're telling me in that story is also you're saying they have to complete these projects, these assignments, and
Hmm.
then we do this. So
Hmm.
there's this
There's
this give and
accountability.
take and some accountability.
Oh yeah.
And Steve Glade calls it this ping pong mentorship. And
Mm.
he says that he always keeps the ball on the other side of the net,
Mm.
and they have to hit it back, and then he'll volley
Yep.
it. But in that mentorship and the thing, there has to be some accountability, things to get done. Okay, send it back to me. Cool. I'm gonna look at it and then present you with something new and
Yep.
this opportunity. And he explained it pretty well in the first podcast we did. And ever since then, even at work for me, I'm like, someone's playing ping pong with me. So I keep
Hmm.
the ball on that side of the net. Like,
Yeah.
okay, my part's done here. Now it's yours. Now it's yours. Now it's
Exactly.
yours.
Accountability.
But you've, and it teaches your participants that to complete actions and good things happen. Like complete the action, okay, that gets to the next level.
Yep.
And through the work is how they learn, as taking action, where you said before, oh, I don't know how to take a picture. I don't know how to do a LinkedIn thing. Well, let's do it and make a mistake. Let's learn how to do it.
That's it.
Skin your knees, get dirty. I messed it up. Okay, here's what we learned from that. Now build upon that. And as we learn by doing,
Hmm.
that's the best experience anyway, I think.
Hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Wow.
With a lot of the podcast questions, I have one that I like to go through is it, what would you tell your younger self before you started this? Knowing what you know now that you probably wouldn't have had that advice, what would you tell yourself?
Ignore the haters.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think you do that anyway. You seem like that
Well,
kind of
at the
person.
beginning, I've grown a thick skin. At the beginning, when I came up with cameras for girls, people were telling me things like, "That's crazy. That's a stupid idea. That'll never fly. Where are you going to get the money? You can't do that. You live in Canada. Who cares about Africans? Why would you waste your time?" That kind of stuff. And I had a vision. I had an idea. There's times still I would be like, "Oh my God, this is so hard. I'm going to quit." And thank God I have my husband who's my sounding board because, I don't make money doing this. Like we're so small. And he'll say to me, no, you are making an impact. You're going to keep on doing this. And one day the door is going to unlock for you. Until then, go through the window, right? So my thing is, oh,
That's
the
awesome.
door is closed, go through the window
Go through the
and
window, go through
go through the
space,
window,
whatever.
find a way.
Yeah, absolutely.
And don't let anybody tell you because that's their fear speaking. And they're just trying to, you know, keep you safe. That's their fear trying to keep you safe. They're well meaning, but, you know, not not in a way that you want them to be.
Yeah, I think that, and we're in a time now where you hear a lot of that, like, oh, don't go, don't, it's not worth trying. You
No.
can't do it, this and that.
Yeah.
And a lot of us who have pushed through barriers in our life and been successful and gone through things that, what you've done for me, like getting sober for 14 years, we know how bad it can be and what it takes to get to that point. So until someone tells you or I, you can't do it, it's almost like, tell me again. Like,
Yeah.
give me more fuel, please.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Tell
Yeah. Let
me
me prove you wrong. But I've
exactly.
also
Prove
gotten
me
to the
wrong.
point that I don't care to prove them wrong.
Yes,
I
that was my
I
next
care
one.
I care only about the women that I work with. Am I doing right by them? And the rest of the people who don't live what I'm going through or work as hard as I do or have this much passion for this work. I don't care. I don't care anymore. I used to care. I don't care because they're not in the dogfight every day to get that funding or to convince somebody that what I'm doing is
Yeah, and I
worthwhile.
think, and you make a good point because you go to Africa, you
Yep,
physically are
I
with
do.
these folks in that place, and Austin Johnson of Ghana make a difference. Similarly, in going there because he literally had like a strong impression in his
Mhm.
soul to go, just leave Utah and go, and the impression it puts on people, and when you come back, you're right because the conversations you're having with people who've never been there
Yeah,
physically, their reality is not the same as yours anyway. So why would we ever take advice from that person?
yeah.
Like
And they don't have
that
my lived
makes
experience, right? So they don't understand. I get a lot of why, like you're Canadian. Why you left, like you left Africa. Africa's in my heart. I don't care if I grew up in Canada. It's in my heart. And you
it's in your
cannot, and I
heart.
keep on telling my husband who's just come home, I keep on telling him that one day that's where I'm going to be. So you better be with me because that's where I'm going to
Fantastically
be.
supportive husband. That's
Yes, he is
wonderful.
a fantastically. He hasn't said yes, no. He's looking at me like, yeah, right. But he hasn't said yes,
No,
right. But he doesn't really have a choice. So that's one day. Right?
I think it's fantastic, and I'm glad that I kind of urged you to get on this recording with me because you're you are making an impact, and I think it's even larger than we can see right now. That as you go towards the 30,000, even if you only get halfway there, like
Yeah.
the ripple effect and the exponential changes that happen because of that in their lives and the children's lives and whoever sees these pictures, and then here's the narrative, here's the story of it. The more pictures that go out there through cameras for girls, the more attention, which is the new currency, right? The more
Yes.
attention will be on camera for girls, and
Yeah.
that's fantastic.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So the if you had unlimited resources, here's the question: if you had unlimited resources,
Yeah.
what's the biggest problem that you would tackle in this nonprofit sector?
Within Cameras for Girls, it would be getting staff. So I don't have to do every role. In the nonprofit sector itself, I think we should invest in proper training and proper supports for mental health because executive directors, um, you know, fundraisers, communicate, you burn out so fast trying to churn out.
Compassion fatigue is
It's
what I heard it
compassion
was called.
fatigue, right?
Yeah.
It is. and and to change how people tell stories. That's where I'd really invest a lot of money. So I teach other organizations and other people about ethical storytelling on the side. So, if anybody's looking for somebody to teach them, look me up because we need to stop telling stories about the people that we work with. We really need to do it with them. It has to be participatory because when you tell a story about somebody, especially in the global south, you don't know if you're further harming them without a cultural context.
Correct.
Right.
Storytelling is important, and how you tell the story is even more.
But I would also urge people, donors who are listening to this, that nonprofits have to invest in marketing and overhead similar to for-profit businesses. How the hell does
Exactly.
McDonald's do it or any of the big brands without investing in marketing and overhead? So why should nonprofit be any different? Just because it's called nonprofit doesn't mean that it does not demand the same resources.
It's very, very true. And you and I had discussed that. I think I learned that about 2 weeks into my job, that the nonprofit name, just that word, the phrase, is almost a mental block for a lot of people, where
Yeah.
they think they're like, oh, I can't go big. I can't get really profitable. I can't grow. I can't, do, but actually you have to even more. You have to do it even
Yes,
better. You have to know
exactly.
your world. You have to be really good with your money. You have to be really good storyteller. You have to develop your employees, get the fundraising to pay them well. It's an amazing thing where you have several nonprofits, many that are just incredibly large, and they've figured out that yes, you run this like a normal business.
Yeah,
You
you
just
have
get very specific with your money, right?
exactly.
Yeah,
And I find myself in a beneficial position that I did not come from the nonprofit industry. I came from the film industry and then the for-profit industry, like as an entrepreneur. So that's why I have a bit of a different mindset. I think if I had come from the nonprofit industry, my mindset would be very different. I wouldn't see as out of the box as I do. That makes
yeah.
sense.
Have you reached out to Ruth Farmer yet?
No, I don't even know her, so I will. Yeah. Maybe you can put
Yeah,
us together.
Ruth with an E on the end.
Okay. Okay.
Farmer. Yeah, and I think that you also would have a really good conversation. It's very possible that her network of folks can fill the voids where you have with the fiscal um, representative that
Sponsor.
you need
Uh-huh.
to get you to those other countries, and
Uh-huh.
hopefully that will work out. And I think where you know part of my part of what I'm learning through doing this is becoming a connector
Yeah,
for
that's
people
my
that
superpower. I like
would
connecting.
never know, that wouldn't know each other, and all of a sudden, like, one email, two, a phone call, whatever, and then like your husband said, like it's just the door's gonna open, and you, instead of having to crawl out the window, you can go out the front door.
Yeah, let's hope.
Yeah, especially since it's snowing there.
Exactly.
Great. No, this was really good. I enjoyed this. I think we
Thank
brought
you.
up a lot of good information that everyone he needs to hear. Many people need to hear, and you'll be able to edit some of these important pieces out and use them for your own social media, and
Sure. Yep.
also taking the transcript and pulling out articles and blog posts or whatever you need to, captions. That's fantastic.
Thank you very much, Eric. I wish you all the
Yeah,
best with your podcast.
thank you. I appreciate it. I'm having a good time with it, and Riverside editing is not hard. So I'll have the first. This will be probably sixth.
Oh, good.
You're the fifth. Six is tomorrow to tonight after you with Dean Wong, and then this weekend we'll have start getting all those uploaded. And our goal is really just to get to that 10th one where, um, that's the tipping point for me to really
Yeah, exactly.
get things out there. But I really
So
appreciate you sticking through it. I know we
do you know Courtney Hartness?
no
He's in recovery as well.
Courtney Hartnett.
Harness. So let me look him up.
You can send that.
I think he's in, yeah, I'll send it in, how about I send it in LinkedIn?
You can send a LinkedIn email, either one.
Yeah, he
But I
just
gotta hop
got,
off.
yeah, me too. So I
It's
will
wonderful.
You too.